it was Gert Mortensen who approached me with the idea of writing a concert piece for solo snare drum. At first my reactions was no. I'm not sure it's possible. So after some thought, I decided to have a go anyway. And this piece was written in Copenhagen, Denmark, in January 1984. It is dedicated to Gert Mortensen. And 2 weeks later, after the completion of the piece, Mortensen premiered it in his tour of Denmark and Sweden. He played it in the Berwald Hall in Stockholm, and there was a live broadcast for all the Nordic countries, and I listened to it in Copenhagen. That's how I heard the premiere. The name of the pieces of this piece, Prím, it comes from the fact that I use the first 15 prime numbers to, and when I use a 30-second note as a basic unit, I get from these prime numbers a motif that forms the first bar in 11/8. And from this first bar, we have all the material in the piece. So I take out just small fragments from this motif in the first bar, and I play with them in different ways throughout the piece. That's how the piece is conceived. In Prím, I was thinking a lot about the rudiments which we have on the snare drum, and technical things there within. I had written earlier a concerto, a concert piece for snare drum and orchestra called Concertstück, and this composition, that is Prím, is to some extent a further exploration into the possibilities of the snare drum as an individual solo instrument. This after this piece, Gert approached me again for another piece, and after that I wrote a piece called Kím for solo snare drum. And in Kím I do very different things from Prím, because I am concentrating more on polyrhythms there and of sounds. So there are quite many sounds in Kím which are not as abundant in Prím. Yes, I said I use polyrhythms amongst other things with a brush and a stick, and I speculate in quite different ways in this piece from Prím. Kím is so a further exploration, and the last piece which I wrote for the solo snare drum is B2B, or Back to Basics. In Back to Basics, I am thinking about the traditional style of drumming from different parts of the world. So we have different schools of the snare drum in Switzerland, in America, in the Nordic countries, in Russia. And I'm thinking of all these different schools and different approaches to this instrument, and through the ages. And I'm using these traditions in my own way, and I mix them together in this piece. So that's the kind of third approach to my third approach to the snare drum as a solo instrument. In my solo works, like Prím and Prím, Canon and other pieces, I am always thinking of the player himself. I feel that the player should be, however exactly the music is notated, the player should be free to make the music his or hers own. That is very important to me, that the player feels that this music comes from him. Not that he's trying to imitate a composer or trying to imagine how the composer wants it. I want the player to think how I want to play it, and how I want it to sound. Normally, the tone and attack and the tuning of the instruments are extremely important. And for me, it reveals a lot about the player's thoughts about the pieces he's playing. So that's very important to me.